everyone, Jessica Kubasi here. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be doing a portrait retouch and color edit as I would if I were to do any other portrait. So I just wanted to show you guys the process and how I end up with that final product. I have this portrait here that I took with a softbox, and the very first thing that I'm going to do is crop this a little bit closer because sometimes I shoot and I don't crop in camera, but sometimes it looks better when you crop it in Photoshop. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just crop it to my liking, and then I'm going to start retouching. There's people who crop in camera. That's totally fine. I crop in camera as well, but some shots, it's not intentional. So I'm going to my crop tool right here, and I'm holding Shift and Alt so it still holds that same size. You can simply change it by clicking on the crop tool again and then just going back, and once you click on it, it'll automatically update. And I'm thinking that looks pretty good to me. I like the way this is cropped. So this is the image that I'm going to start retouching. So I actually have an action that I use when I retouch, and I made this myself. It's up for download. If you'd like to download it, you just press one button and it makes the frequency separation layers for you. So it just saves you a lot of time. Okay, so now that I have the frequency separation layers in, I'm going to start retouching, and usually what I do is make a copy of the low frequency layer. And if you would like a more in-depth version on retouching, I have a lot of tutorials on that. So I will link those as well. And I'm going to just first work on the colors here and try to get a good base before I start retouching the texture. And I try not to retouch too much. I guess it just depends on the lighting that you're using and what kind of lens, also how sharp your lens is. There are cameras that have the megapixels, the 50 megapixel camera. Imagine trying to retouch skin on that. I think I would cry. I think I would just not do. I would just play video games in my basement all day. I wouldn't even try to touch that image. That's all I'm saying, because that would be a lot of pores that you gotta retouch. No amount of concealer or foundation is gonna be able to help you in that situation. So I'm just merging the colors very slightly. I don't want to do too much. I'm trying this new thing, kind of sound nerdy, where I don't retouch the skin too much. I still want it to look natural. It's okay if they have a little bit of dark circle under their eye now, I guess. For me anyways, just makes it look a little bit more natural. You can keep that. If it's looking a little dark, I think it's okay to keep that, in my opinion. So just basically what I'm doing is just cleaning up any colors. As you can see, if I turn off the high frequency layer, a lot of this is a little bit patchy. So what I'm doing is just smoothing over some of these colors, just to it's like a very soft gradient, but I don't want them to be completely merged. I just want them to transition a little bit smoother. And you don't want to touch any central lines, solid lines in the eyes and the nose. You want to keep those as is. You don't want to touch those, because then it really starts looking cartoony. Did you guys hear that the Animaniacs are back on Netflix? Yeah, I have to watch that. I love those shows. That's my childhood pretty much. And I'm almost done. It's not looking too bad. Again, as I said, lighting really just emphasizes all of, the pores and the skin texture. So normally, like for me, when I got my studio pictures done, I mean, I thought I looked pretty decent, but then I looked at the picture and I was like, damn, I'm hideous. Like, ugh, not doing studio lighting anymore, because unless you're you really got like a good face, then studio lighting is just really I don't know. I guess maybe, I don't know. I'm just not, I don't feel like I'm very photogenic, but that's what models are for, right? That's why we take pictures of them. Okay. I mean, I'm like, okay, I'm like good. I'm cool. Like, I'll walk on the street and I can be like, hey guys, I can like talk to people and be okay with myself. We cool. I just need a cat. All right, and I think that's looking pretty good. If you want, you could do, you know, the neck area. I don't want to touch that up too much. Is there like a person who retouches like the neck? Like neck, hey, I'm a neck retoucher, like specialty necks and stuff. I don't know. It's one of my bad jokes. Okay. So I feel like that's looking pretty good. Let me turn that texture layer back on. Look at that. I mean, look at that difference, you guys. And again, I have to just say that it's not that my model has bad skin. She has actually really good skin, but it's just that really harsh light. This is a softbox. It was pretty close to her, so it's going to get those textures that, it's going to emphasize things that, you know, you don't see in real life, air quotations, real life, in real life. And as for the high frequency layer with the textures, I don't want to touch too much. Actually, I kind of like it as is, but I'm going to just grab that little stray hair that's like all scraggly and stuff over here. I'm going to use a very small healing brush and basically just banish it from her forehead. Like, you're banished. Banished. Okay. I think I just made that worse. Oh. This is the stuff the retouchers won't tell you. I'm not a professional retoucher by any means, but yeah, I'm keeping it real. Like, you know, when people like do a presentation and they make a mistake, but they won't admit it, like I'll be like, yeah, I messed that up. Like, yeah, that was horrible. Cause I'm not gonna put on the front over there. I'm just rambling, you guys. I'm sorry. So I'm just touching up very, very subtle areas, any of these flyaway hairs next to her face or on her face. A lot of people remove these laughing lines. I guess you could take those off. I don't want to do too much. I kind of want to keep some of the texture, so I'm not going to touch that area too much. And this hair near her lips really has got to go. Like, for real. Okay, here we go. I mean, this is you're literally seeing me retouch lifetime. I'm not speeding this up. I mean, you're hearing me talk, and I'm just trying to show you guys exactly what I do. I did not retouch a lot of the texture on the skin. I wanted to keep it natural. So let's see so far. We are gonna go and add some little details and stuff like that. What I like to do is do a little bit of enhancements. And thank God, you know, I won the spelling bee in the 5th grade, so I'm able to impress you all with my spelling abilities this fine evening. What I like to do is just focus on the eyes. So if the model is wearing a specific eyeshadow color, a pretty good tip to do is to just sample that color that she's already wearing, and using a new raster layer, go from normal to, let's do soft light for now. And opacity, let's do like 42. And what you want to do is just go over that eyeshadow color and just slightly enhance it. It's like you're also a makeup artist, but you know, you're just saving a lot of money. Here we go. See, this hair right here is really bothering me right now, but I'm gonna tackle that later. So again, just using the same color you're sampling. So you're holding Alt, you're sampling, sample, click, click, sample, click. They should write a rap song about this. Sample, click. You see me sampling, you see me clicking. Okay, here we go. So you're sampling colors and you're clicking in. Again, soft light is your raster layer setting. And let me show you guys. Like, look at that difference. It's just bringing out her eyes. I mean, you're just falling in love as a friend in a very friendly way. And now we're going to do the lips. Same exact thing. We're just going to sample a color, normal to soft light. If you're feeling, on the wild side, go do overlay, treat yourself, do overlay. But I'm going to do soft light. So again, going over. And for any reason, if you add too much and you think it's looking like, Animaniacs, like I said, cartoony, just lower the opacity on the layer. It's no big deal. No one's going to know except you. And then everyone on the internet if you post it. So, okay. That's looking pretty good. Just bringing a little bit of color to her lips. And very last thing, highlights and contrast. New layer, make a new raster layer, Command Shift N. Probably should have mentioned that on the first layer, but I'm switching to black and white, and I'm going from normal to soft light yet again. And this time I am focusing on things I can dodge and burn just to bring out the photo a little bit more. So I want to keep the opacity a little bit lower. I'm actually doing 22% right now. And I'm just going over, like, see how dark that's already making her face? I don't like that. So I'm going to lower my opacity even further to 11%. And I'm just slightly, you're using black for the areas that you want to add more contrast to, and you're using white to highlight areas. So I could highlight this area, I'm switching it over to white, and I'm going to highlight this area, the area on her nose, the areas that you want to make pop. So see on her lips right here, there's this highlight. Just go over that with that white color. And you can use the black color on the outside of her lips. So you're just enhancing the colors that are already there. So I'm going in over here using black. And then on this inner corner of her eye, I'm using white. So again, you just toggle by pressing the X. So see how the X, when I press X, is changing? Makes it a lot easier, by the way. Magic. It's all magic. Like, where's Harry Potter right now? Where's my admittance letter into Hogwarts? Okay. And just enhancing. Because none of this is real anyways, Okay, here we go. I guess it just depends on how much you want to highlight and bold. So I'm going to show you guys what that did. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do with this photo is get rid of those flyaways because they gotta go. They just gotta go. So what I'm going to do is make a new raster layer. And there are many different ways to getting rid of flyaways. I like to use the clone tool. It's just like erasing something it's like erasing something from your life that you don't need anymore. It's pretty easy to use. If you're using a clone brush on a solid background, it's a little bit easier. What you want to do is sample a surrounding area. So I'm holding Alt, making sure my opacity is around 88%, I think. You can always toggle. So I'm going to start cloning. So again, I'm holding Alt, clicking, and I'm just slightly going over all these flyaway areas. This really makes you hate your life sometimes. You're like, oh God. Okay, here we go. See? I'm doing it. Again, holding Alt, click, and then get rid of a little bit at a time. Now I'm only doing this because it's a little section here. If I had more leeway, I could probably use a bigger brush, but I don't. And another thing that you could do is use a brush this color, but I'm just showing you this technique in case you want to use it. And in case you can't use the actual solid color brush tool. Yeah. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna save. Okay, so we are on our last step, which is the coloring of this image. And the first thing that I'm going to do is make a new folder so that I don't get confused myself. And the first layer that we're adding is a vibrance layer. So go to layer, new adjustment layer, and then vibrance. And what I'm going to do is actually lower the saturation. And I always do that. Well, I don't always do it, but I usually do it when I'm color grading because it kind of gives it a nice base. So it's not too oversaturated. It just kind of helps when you're adding colors on if it's a little bit desaturated. And I lowered it to negative 13, and I'm just lowering the opacity to 73% on that layer. The next layer that I'm using is a black and white layer, so layer, new adjustment layer, black and white. And what I'm going to do is keep all of the default settings, and I'm going from normal to soft light. And as you can see, it really just, made the photo a lot more contrasted, but we don't want it too much, so I'm lowering the opacity. And I'm also lowering the fill. Next thing that I'm going to do is go to layer, new adjustment layer, and then gradient map. Where are you? Here you are. And I am using a purple to green to orange color, and this is actually a default. On here, it should already be included in Photoshop, and if you didn't get it, then you better start writing an angry letter to someone somewhere. And we are going to set this to luminosity. And it looks really scary right now, so we're lowering the opacity to 27%. Okay, well, my tablet doesn't want to let go. Okay, here we go. So what this layer did, I really love this layer. It just brings out a lot of, the texture. It makes it a lot less bold. I just love this layer. I would experiment this with other colors as well. The next layer I'm going to use is the curves layer. So layer, new adjustment layer, then curves. I'm going to try to get it as close to what I had it. Looks pretty good. Don't want it too much. And this layer is going to be set to luminosity as well. Nope, that's the wrong one. Okay, there we go. We did it. Okay. And I might lower that just a tiny bit. Don't want it too much. That looks pretty good right now, for now. And I'm going to go to layer, new adjustment layer, levels for the next step. And I already kind of decided on the colors for these. So just, if you're experimenting, just toggle these back and forth, like look at the difference this will make. I don't want it too much though. That looks pretty good. And the last thing that I'm going to do, and you don't have to do this, but I like to add a color fill. So I'm going to go to layer, new fill layer, solid color, and use a brown color, and I'm going to go from normal to color. And this is literally going at the bottom, like 6%. Bye, Felicia. Very, very, very subtle to the untrained eye. But I've been looking at screens since birth. Okay, that's a lie, but for a very long time. Well, let me show you guys what all those colors did. It just added back a lot more texture. So hopefully this tutorial was helpful. Let me know if you guys have any questions at all. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I really, really hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it's a little bit longer than my other tutorials, but I really just showed you my entire process. Like, this is my first time editing this photo and you guys watched me do it, so I hope that it was helpful in some way.